Steelers by the lake, with the word to say. James Strong, Cody Tanner, host on the mic. About to dive in deep, keep it live, that's right.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this Saturday morning?
James, I am just peachy this morning. Listen, it was fun. We got some football that wasn't the Chiefs, so that was enjoyable. A little triggered about the Chiefs, but man, it was exciting. I'm doing good. How are you, James?
I'm doing well also.
What a wild time to be an NFL fan and a sports fan and a football fan. And East West Shrine Bowl did take place. We are going to talk about that. Before we do that, we're going to talk about a couple Steelers news, and then we'll end with some Steelers news. There's some roster things and some Pro Bowl things and some coaching things. There's just things, James. There's things to talk about. It's kind of the downtime for teams that aren't one of the two teams in the Super Bowl. So it's entering that time of the year where it gets to, we're starting to talk more about college prospects and the draft and things like that. But let's start off with a couple Pro Bowl replacements. James, you want to talk about who's in now?
Three total Pro Bowl replacements for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is actually, I think, a total of 4, because Miles Killebrew was also an alternate and got promoted in. So Isaac Seumalo, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Queen all named replacement players to the Pro Bowl. Russ was a replacement for Josh Allen. Seumalo, I believe, was Trey Smith.
Okay.
And then Patrick Queen, I'm not sure what the middle linebacker was on that one, but
yeah, we can figure that out. But again, this is and TJ Watt, no, excuse me, not TJ Watt, JJ Watt sent out a tweet about it because of some of the guys that were getting. I mean, Drake May's now in the Pro Bowl. Drake May won 2 games.
Well, I mean, it's not about how many games you won.
Well, agreed, but Drake May also didn't have a phenomenal year by any. He did not have a Pro Bowl year, not even close. And so the Pro Bowl, unfortunately, has taken its full rotation around what it is, what it could be. And unfortunately, it's just not as prestigious as it used to be in the NFL. So,
honestly, I think with this, what they should do as far as you still get to go if you're a replacement, but it shouldn't go down as an actual Pro Bowl nomination. There should be a separate category as Pro Bowl replacement or Pro Bowl original ballot. Because, I mean, you remember a few years back when Lamar Jackson missed a chunk of 6 or 7 games, his backup, Huntley, went in. And he had 2 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions on the year. But a bunch of fans voted for him, and he got in because of it. I mean, his numbers were as awful as can be. At least some of these guys threw some decent numbers out there when you're talking 16 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. You got a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, at least. But we've seen some guys who were literally putting up numbers that weren't good enough to be on a practice squad make Pro Bowls in previous years. So it just kind of depends on the position on the year. And I think this is a bad one for that because obviously, you get this late into the season. Josh Allen isn't going. Patrick Mahomes, he would have probably been a first alternate is my guess behind Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Are Burrow and Jackson even going?
Doubtful.
I don't know. I imagine one of the two of them isn't going, and that's why we have Drake May. So you're getting really far down that list on the quarterbacks. Russ, I see a lot more so before Drake May, but
yeah. So Josh Allen is not going. He's replaced by Russell Wilson. Lamar Jackson is not going, replaced by Drake May. Joe Burrow is going.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry not going, replaced by James Cook. And then you have Zay Flowers not going, replaced by Brian Thomas Jr. Travis Kelce's not going, obviously. Jonnu Smith. Laramie Tunsil not going, replaced by Ronnie Stanley. And then you're right, Trey Smith replaced by Isaac Seumalo. Joe Thuney replaced by Joel Bitonio. Creed Humphrey replaced by Connor McGovern. And the O-line ones typically make sense. The O-line ones aren't typically far-fetched. I know Isaac Seumalo is a little bit.
It's down year for Isaac.
Yeah. Max Crosby's not going, replaced by Danielle Hunter. Chris Jones not going. Quinnen Williams, Nadami Metabuke not going. Jeffrey Simmons, TJ Watt not going. Kyle Van Noy, Khalil Mack not going. Joey Bosa, Roquan Smith not going. Patrick Queen, which is
fun. No, that's ironic.
And so that's it for the AFC, it looks like.
To me, most of that list, the guys that were replacements are really, really close to Pro Bowl level guys, or used to be, or are up and coming kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was only like last year or the year before, Danielle Hunter had like 18 sacks.
Yeah.
So, like, he makes sense. The Bosas make sense. Like, a lot of those guys are really talented dudes that just didn't get the number one nominee this year.
Yep. Yeah. So
first one for Seumalo, though. This is his first Pro Bowl, which is ironic. I hate the dog guy when he gets his first Pro Bowl, but I just felt like Seumalo didn't have the best year this year.
Yeah. Miles Killebrew replaced Brandon Schooler for the New England Patriots.
So he must be injured because obviously they didn't do anything.
Yeah. And why would he not want to be in the Pro Bowl? That's the guy that, I mean, special teams guy. Why would you not want to go?
Got to be an injury. That's the only thing that
20
makes sense.
Years old from Texas. Yeah, he'd be in there if he was, or if he could be. So, yeah, Pro Bowl is going to be weird. They were already doing the games and the throwing contests, stuff like that. Got to see Russell Wilson's moon ball kind of
it betrayed him.
Yeah.
It betrayed him on that deep one.
There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling there. You can't do that, Russ. I mean,
his accuracy was good though, man. He kept on hitting the targets on the edge, and it wouldn't count because it didn't hit inside the actual like registering area of the. But he kept on hitting the target darn near every time. So just that one deep one to the left, he couldn't get because he couldn't keep it low enough.
Yeah, they did a lot of interesting things. I didn't even watch any of it. I just saw some highlights on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Right now, the Pro Bowl teams are NFC with 14, AFC with 7. However, that scoring works in case anyone was curious. I don't know.
And I don't know why you would watch it when you have college football all-star games, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. It's really tough. It's really because the Pro Bowl used to be really exciting. It was cool to see the guys come out in the red and blue uniforms and wearing their helmets, and it used to be AFC versus NFC, and then we started drafting teams, and it became, I think one year, wasn't it like Manning versus somebody, and like it was 2 retired guys that were like the head coaches or whatever.
I think they're doing that this year too.
They are,
the football portion of it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. It's just drastically different. As a fan, I don't even. It used to be for the fans. That's what it was for.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan, I don't want to go. It seems boring. It seems dumb.
Yeah.
So I mean, sure, if they did it near Pennsylvania or maybe even Pittsburgh, would I go? Sure, it's close enough. But I have no. Like, I would have gone to a Hawaii when it used to be in Hawaii every year, and they had the game. Like, that was intriguing, but nah, not anymore. It's really upsetting and sad, but it is what it is. Now it's time to move on to real football, because let's get away from the Pro Bowl right now. Shrine Bowl happened, East-West Shrine Bowl. It was a very boring game as far as the score goes. The East won 25-0. But overall, we got to see some good plays. We got to see a lot of good runs. And unfortunately, not a ton out of the wide receiver group. And that was something. So I went and watched it with a friend of the podcast, Jay, and we discussed it. There was even one time where we were talking about, I think it was like a 3rd and long nearing the end of the first half. And it's like, you know, we were curious what that does to the play calling. Like, are they going to call a play because these guys are here to show off, or are they going to run the clock out or whatever? They wound up just running the ball, handing it off and whatever. But it's very interesting to see how they handle this game, because I don't know that you're necessarily, that's a bad way to put it, but like, I don't know if they care as much if they win or not. I think these players are more just trying to make a name for themselves and do something. So it's an interesting view of how to watch the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like as far as winning the game, I feel like it's more important to the coaches than it is the players. The players
Yep.
are more concerned about their individual performance, which drastically affects their draft stock, which drastically affects their NFL career, which is right around the corner for these guys. They're only a couple months away from the NFL draft. Next month we have the scouting combine where everybody goes and runs their 40-yard dash and gets measured up and everything. We got some measurements at the East West Shrine Bowl. I didn't get the official list from the Senior Bowl, but I know there's some on that. We'll talk about that on the next show anyway, because that doesn't matter for this one. But yeah, interesting. I thought that out of everything that we saw in this game, there were a few guys that still managed to splash, and it's tough for the wide receivers. I feel real bad for the wide receivers because there were a lot of easy throws that were missed by many of these quarterbacks. And that just kind of proves what they're saying as far as this is not the year to get a quarterback in the draft. It kind of looks like it's not the year to take somebody in the mid rounds either. I was getting to the point where I was thinking maybe Pittsburgh should take a flyer on a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round and see if there's somebody they could possibly develop. Man, these cats ain't it. Maybe there's some better options in the Senior Bowl, but I didn't really care for what I saw in this game.
Yeah, and I also hope they don't force it. There's a lot of pressure on Pittsburgh to have a quarterback, and develop somebody or get a younger guy in there. I don't want to take a blind shot at somebody just to have a rookie quarterback on the team. Like, there's going to be enough undrafted guys to bring somebody in.
Yeah, and maybe they've got 2 7th-round picks. That's where you do it, because 7th-round guys don't make the team a lot of times anyway.
Yep.
So maybe this year you take your Chris Oladokun again, like that kind of thing, but actually allow him on the 53-man roster so you can try to develop him. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So to me, the big standout from this game, there's 2 guys, one on offense, one on defense. We're going to talk about a lot more than that, though. But the number 1 guy was the running back from the West, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Ja'Cory's 5'10 and a half, 206 pounds. He only had 11 carries, but he made the best of all of them for a total of 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had tremendous vision, in my opinion, and a really, really good ability to jump cut. So if you were in front of him, he's gone. Like, it was incredible to see how shifty he was and how incredible his change of direction was. Good contact balance and power, too, for a guy who wasn't huge. So very, very impressive game, I thought, for Ja'Cory. I know he jumped out for you, too, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, his vision was very good. His ability to attack a hole and not waste time or get outside if it was an outside run, again, was very, very enjoyable. In his in his bowl game, I think they had a bowl game this year, I'm not sure. He didn't. The weird part is he didn't have a ton of stats this year. He's actually been in college since 2019. A long
got that COVID eligibility.
Yeah. It's kind of the similar thing we saw with Najee, where he's a little bit older, and stuff like that. But in his career of running, his best season was in 2023, where he rushed for almost 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns. That was with the University of New Mexico.
Oh, so he transferred then.
Yeah, he's transferred 3 times. So he started off with Alabama State Hornets, played with the Hornets for, it looks like, 4 years, then New Mexico, and then
probably a JUCO.
This last year with Arizona Wildcats is what they are. And ironically, his stats for the year, he had 13 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, so he was injured.
More than likely.
Yeah.
So it's real interesting that he got the nod to go to this game, but you know what? He might have just made a little bit of draft stock for himself. So
yeah, good for him. When you see that low of usage in a season, obviously there was some injury or something holding out most of the year. I'm going to assume there was an injury. I don't know when he got those carries. If that was the last game of the season, that would make sense. If he made it back just in time to play for the bowl game or whatever their final game was.
No, he might have got injured early because it was Saturday, August 31st was that one game.
Okay, yeah, so he probably got injured first game of the season. Sucks for him, but he had no eligibility left. Let's be honest. If he played in 2019, there's no more eligibility for this guy. So he got the nod off of his 2023 film, which it sounds like was a pretty impressive season. So exciting to see. I thought that he had pretty good long speed too. Once he broke it, people weren't running him down. And I know that at the Shrine Bowl, you don't necessarily have the fastest dudes per se. It's expected to be a lot of third, fourth round and later prospects. But not only the short area quickness, but the long speed seemed decent too. I won't be surprised if he runs in the low 4.5s or high 4.4s. He just seems like he has good speed along to go with everything else. So I think the kid did himself a lot of favors and made himself a lot of money.
Yeah, not an injury thing, eligibility issue that he fought with the NCAA all year for.
So, that's awful.
Yep.
Wow.
So
missed his entire senior year off of a technicality.
Yep. Very upsetting. I'm sure. And that's some cool information to know, like that he's still putting in the work. He's still stuck with the team the whole time. So
very clearly put in the work, right? I mean, the kid
Yep.
showed that he was in incredible shape, and usually especially like running backs, if you miss a bunch of time, it's not uncommon for your timing to be off and to just kind of look a little out of sort and have to work your way back into it. Oh boy, he looked like he played all year out. It's very surprising to me to hear that he didn't play all season because he looked like somebody who was in peak midseason form.
Yep.
So shout out to him for being able to keep his nose to the grind, stay in the weight room, keep his workouts going and whatnot, because he looked great in this game.
Yeah. Let's bounce to that second guy we want to talk about, a wide receiver out of Eastern Washington Eagles. He's played for them since 2020. This is also his 5th year. He's had that extra year of eligibility as well. He came in at 5'10", 195. He's the return man. He's the guy that, that's what we talked about a little bit. Me and you were texting, and then I also talked to Jay. How low do you, like, as a return man, this is your one chance to make a name for yourself. Like, return men don't often get a chance to do things when they're lower tier guys, except for maybe the preseason a little bit in the NFL. But like, this game was a big opportunity for this guy. He wound up having, what was his stats on the returns? 3 returns for 12 yards. It doesn't look crazy good, but he was the guy that has a chance to make a name for himself in that special teams way. That's the only way he's going to make an NFL roster, special teams.
I got to disagree with you on that.
Really?
I thought he was awesome as a slot receiver in this game.
Where's he at?
And he really kind of splashed. He had 4 catches for 43 yards. The best receiver on that team the whole game.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, and he's broken every record that, wait for it, Cooper Kupp set at the same college. So this is a prolific wide receiver with a really good track record, who just showed incredible route running, in my opinion, and short area quickness to get people away from him. When you talk about like the separation that Deontay Johnson used to create when he was a Steeler, that's what I noticed from Efton Chisholm in this game, was his ability to separate from defenders trying to cover him. Now, again, this is corners that are a little bit less talented. So what is it going to be in the NFL? I don't know. But my biggest concern with a guy like this is we don't need another slot wide receiver. You already have Calvin Austin III, who's kind of best in that role. We're expecting the same out of Roman Wilson, who didn't get an opportunity to play really. So I don't know that you take another guy this size, but I thought he was really impressive in this game and showed really good ability as a route runner.
I will say his season stats are really impressive. 120 receptions this year for 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Not bad, huh?
That's not bad. I'm curious as to who they played, just because of its.
Oh yeah, it's a small school, so yeah.
But yeah,
definitely small school.
So.
But I like the stature too. 5'10", 195 pounds, pretty well built for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
You don't really see him as thick as he is. Seemed like he had a strong lower half too. So that typically goes well for guys with short area quickness, return capability, that kind of stuff. So I could see him being successful in the NFL, but we'll see where he ends up. That combine's going to be a really important thing for him. Can he get into the 4.4s? I think he's quick enough that he can get into the 4.4s.
Well, so his school throughout this entire regular season this year had 2 different quarterbacks lead passing yards in a game, had, it looks like 4 or 5 different running backs. He was the leading receiver in every single game. So
No
makes sense.
surprise.
Checks out. Let's see. James, you want to talk about a cornerback next?
Yeah, there's a corner that I thought looked really nice in this game. Now, his interception, it was a pick six, was a gimme. It was a bad throw, but he had the IQ going on, right? He was responsibility of a guy deeper. He realized the ball was being thrown to somebody shorter, stopped, the ball was overthrown. He caught it, returned it for a touchdown pretty easily. O'Donnell Fortune is his name, and I hate the first name, but that's great last name. So he was 6 foot and 5/8, so good height, 188 pounds, 31 7/8 inch long arms. So he's like basically right at the threshold of what teams typically look for. That size typically is an outside corner. He played slot corner this entire game, and I thought he was pretty sticky in coverage. So he impressed me where he stacks up. I hadn't really heard his name a lot previous to this game, so I think he's probably got the attention of a few guys in this game, and I'm very excited to see how he runs and jumps when he comes to the combine, because I thought that kid had a real nice game for himself. And when the time comes, like we talked about this with Dante Jackson this last year, Dante really struggled in coverage, but when the ball came to him, he caught it, and he made the most of those return opportunities, which turns people's heads. He ended up with 5 picks on the year. This kid, I thought that's something you got to give him credit for, is that he had the IQ to drop off of his guy, get in the right situation, catch the ball, and then really nice return capability. So I like what I saw out of him, and I would definitely be interested in seeing more from him.
Yeah, he 3 interceptions this year, 3 pass breakups. 2 of his interceptions coming against top 10 ranked teams in the NCAA. So that was one, Texas A&M and Alabama, where he got 2 of his interceptions this year. So like to see that he can keep up with the high quality talent that's out there, especially when you look at those top 10 schools, especially. Next guy we're going to look at is a big boy, James, a defensive tackle, JJ Pews.
Your guess is as good as mine on the pronunciation.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear him say his name.
I think this is the defensive lineman later on in the game. Looked like he moved pretty good. 6'2" and 3/8, 323 pounds, 33 1/4 inch long arms. So decent length. What jumped out to me was the one-handed interception by a big man. You don't see that too often. It was attempted like screen pass or something, and he just kind of reached out with one hand to the side, caught the thing and brought it in, and then refused to go down. It looked like a run where, like Darnell Washington, you know how he gets like a pile of people on him and he keeps on moving the pile? It was the same situation, but it was offensive linemen jumping on him, and he kept on going, getting another yard. So I like this fight, and that's pretty good IQ and hand-eye coordination. So maybe somebody you could use as a goal line fullback in addition to it. But when you're talking about like the stress that, say, Pittsburgh puts on interior defensive line and even their outside linebackers, getting your hands up, get your hands on the ball. If you're not going to get the sack, if you're not going to get there in time because of how fast the throw's coming out, then you need to get your hands up. So I thought it was pretty impressive.
And you want to talk about putting him in goal line situations. Here is a video of him running for a touchdown.
Looks pretty fit for a 323-pound dude, huh?
Well, and with that even being said, also, I want to show you something else as well. Here's a video that I think you'll appreciate of him. Where'd it go? A sack he got in as well. Take a look at this real quick. So you'll see, this is against Tulane and Ole Miss, and he does a phenomenal job of keeping up with a fairly mobile quarterback and not giving up on the play. So really got to kind of see his speed to keep up with a scrambling quarterback there. So yeah, I mean, this is a guy that, Pittsburgh, he's not quite the nose tackle that I know our buddy Nick Pretzel wants. I know Jay wants. He's not quite as large, I think, as some people want that, a nose tackle to be, but again, that's positioning and everything else. It's not exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think he's an edge guy. He's not a 3-4 defensive end.
No.
So I think in Pittsburgh's scheme, that would be a little bit more of a nose, but that's some incredible agility that he showed on that play, chasing that quarterback and then not being juked out. That's something that's so easy to have happen in that kind of situation. Really, really fluid mover for a guy as big as he is, man. That when we're watching those highlights there, that does not look like a 6'2", 323-pound man. I would have guessed he was like 6'4", 280, just looked very athletic and a very good mover. So that's something that I would be interested in. It'll be interesting to see how he does as far as his bench. That kind of gives you a clue for how well you can hand up to a double team. You want to see that 30-plus reps on the bench. So we'll see how he does there.
If he goes 31, do you still want him?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
He gives me 29, I'm in.
That's fair. That is fair. But yeah, I mean, one-handed pick, one-handed interception, as a guy that size, I'd take it. James, let's go ahead and talk about the next guy, another defensive player, an edge rusher by the name of Johnny Walker. He measured in at 6'2" and 5'8", 246 pounds, 33-inch long arms. So there, the length is there that we're looking for. 3 sacks on the day. Two sacks? Was it 2?
I wrote it down wrong. Yeah, it was only 2. But whoa, boy, was he disruptive, man. He was getting after the quarterback time and time again. And just, he's one of those dudes with that really, really fast first step, where with that first step, he's already got the tackle out of his normal stride and stance, which is how you win, right? And then he had real good dip and bend to get underneath as he was going around the edge. So very impressive. I don't want Pittsburgh to draft an edge rusher in this draft at all. Let me be 100% transparent on that. Pittsburgh is set in that department with the top 3 being in great shape. And then you have DeMarvin Leal and Julius Weishoff. I'm actually really excited about both of those guys returning. I think that room is already set. But if the value exceeds where he's at, maybe it's something you think about doing and then move somebody else in the room to acquire more picks or something like that, But highly talented kid as far as getting after the quarterback. There's no questioning that.
Yeah, I mean, he had 9.5 sacks on his year this year. Another, again, an extended eligibility guy with 5 years. I believe all were with Mizzou. That is correct, all with Mizzou. But yeah, a lot of sacks for this guy. 9.5 in a college season is really, really good. He had 2 games with 2, and then a couple games scattered with 1. But very quick, very agile guy. The big thing here, when I look at him, James, is gonna be that 6'3", 255. He's that lean build of height that Pittsburgh wants to get to push somebody around, to get around the edge, to be we saw the agility in this game. Very impressive. Also 3 forced fumbles his last 2 seasons. Love to see forced fumbles from that edge position. So,
yeah.
TJ
Did he
Watt's
get one in this
known for it.
game? I feel like he might have got one in this game.
I can tell you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, because he was all over that. I wouldn't be surprised.
He was east or west? He was east.
East, I believe.
Let me highlight his stats here. 1 forced fumble, yes.
Yeah, I thought one of those was a forced fumble too.
Yep.
Yeah, so kind of
Love
goes
to see
right in line. Yeah, right in line with what you were talking about. Next couple of guys did not participate in the game, but I have them on this list because they're really high-profile people that are expected to be first-round picks, and they were at the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is crazy. That doesn't typically happen. First one, Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan. I understand that he's like just a super disruptive defensive tackle that has really good movement skills. If you remember a game, Michigan versus Penn State, not this last year, but the year before, where one of the Penn State running backs was like 40 yards downfield and got caught from behind by a Michigan defensive tackle, it was Kenneth Grant. It was one of those things where he had to do some juke moves, and in the slowing down, the dude caught up, but he ran, hustle 40 yards down the field, and caught him. Yeah, you found the clip. There he is. Look at him go, man.
That's a big boy moving.
Yeah.
That is a big boy moving.
Yeah.
For sure.
That is something that catches your eye when you're watching it live. But that's not the edge. Like, that's not the skill set that you typically see with a guy that big. He could play defensive end for Pittsburgh, and he definitely has the frame to play nose tackle. 33 and a half inch long arms, so he's getting you that adequate long length there. I really want to see more from this kid. I can't wait to see what he does at the combine. He's expected to be a first round selection. Definitely someone that Pittsburgh should be having their eye on when you're talking about reinforcing that defensive front and how important that appears to be to the Steelers. Art Rooney mentioned it in his different interviews that he had on how important it is to shore up that defensive line. It's something I've been saying for a couple of years now, and it looks like it's going to be a focus. Even Mike Tomlin was seen at the Senior Bowl practices, jumping in and even assigning matchups of offensive linemen versus defensive linemen, which he's known for doing. But he had no business even being in those drills, and instead takes it over and kind of dictates things because that's just what he does. He loves this time of year, but this is a prospect that would be very exciting for Pittsburgh to get their hands on. No doubt about that. Would have been nice to see him play, but if he would have played, I think it would have just been the other team wouldn't have been able to execute their offense at all.
Yeah. Yep. Last guy that we're going to talk about real quick that did not play, obviously, Shedeur Sanders. He showed up, practiced, did all the things, but did not play in the game. It's frustrating as a fan to watch that, but James made a good point before the show. It's an opportunity for him to talk to 32 NFL teams. That's all it is.
Yep.
So.
Yep, he gets an opportunity to talk to coaches and to scouting staff and really get his name out there a little bit more. And some guys, you're not going to benefit any more from playing in a game like this. He's in a situation where he's either going to be the number 1 or number 2 quarterback most likely taken in this upcoming draft class. And if you're playing with, let's say, behind an offensive line that doesn't necessarily block all that well, or wide receivers that aren't running good routes, or just things that you're not as comfortable with, you might put up a bad game that could end up hurting your draft stock. So guys like that in this situation, it's not uncommon for them to not participate in these games.
I understand that and agree with what you're saying with it's a good opportunity. I think my frustration from this comes from him being such a high target and him taking a position on the lesser of the two games. Each team only was allowed 5 quarterbacks, and you took the spot from a guy that could have made an impact or done something for himself. That part frustrates me. You don't need any more attention. Your name's Shedeur Sanders. Your dad is Dion Primetime Sanders. I wish he would have practiced for the Senior Bowl, not this game. That's my personal opinion.
I can understand that, but I think the reason he did it is actually less selfish than what you're thinking, because his brother was playing in this game and had absolutely no chance of being in the Senior Bowl. So by taking the invite to the East West Shrine Bowl, his dad was able to be there and kind of coach both of them through the process rather than having to choose between his sons, which no one wants to have to do something like that. So I would say, and like what he said in the sideline interview, sounded like a very selfless individual. So I don't know, man. I don't hate the way he did it, and he made it all about being there to cheer on his brother and his teammates and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you're in that situation, he has everything to lose and nothing to gain. If he goes out there and throws for 300 yards on 7 passes and gets 6 touchdowns in the process, he's not going to go higher.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes number 1 instead of number 2, but he has everything to lose. If you get injured or you have a bad performance, you could fall way down. So from a family perspective, I get why he could have done that.
That is fair. James, we have one more thing to talk about briefly here, and that is the Steelers lose inside linebacker coach Aaron Curry to the Jets linebacker coaching job. What does that mean for us? Who do you think they might sign? And let's talk about that.
There's two guys in-house that are not listed as assistant coaches that are basically in a coaching capacity for Pittsburgh right now that both make lots of sense. One is Ryan Shazier. The other one is Vince Williams. They have been on staff, and no one has an official role of what they actually are. Both of them make a ton of sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's either one or maybe even both. Because maybe you have Ryan as more of the X's and O's guy and Vince more of the here's how you do it guy. Because Ryan obviously not going to be able to fully run through drills and really 100% show guys. So I think either one of them would be an excellent move. Both of them would be an even better move. Those two were best buds on the field. And complemented each other so well on the field. I would imagine they'd complement each other very well on a coaching staff too. So to me, I'd say hire them both, especially with having a younger group and kind of having some of that same kind of dynamic going on where you have some speed guys in your Patrick Queen and in your Peyton Wilson where they're the speed coverage sideline to sideline guys. And then you have some thumpers like Mark Robinson on the roster and Roberts as well. You kind of have guys that could specialize in coaching each one of them.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still really sad that Pittsburgh hasn't brought in a former player like Hines Ward or someone to coach a thing like that. We saw Antoine Randall be coach. Would love to see, I don't know how well it would work. Would love to see Ryan Shazier come in and be a linebacker coach. Just saying.
I think he quasi is already. That's the thing.
That's fair. It's like an unofficial one. Yeah.
And they don't always work is the problem. Like Carnell Lake was the secondary coach for a few years, and that didn't go well at all.
Yep. No, I hear you. With that being said, James, that wraps up today's show talking about the East-West Shrine game. We are going to talk sometime next week. Sometime we're gonna talk about the Senior Bowl, which happens today at 7, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't have the time on it, to be honest with you.
That is fine. I can find out real quick. Senior Bowl today. Nope, 2:30. So yeah, that game will be taking place today. The the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl, happening today. If you guys get a chance to watch that, it will be aired on NFL Network, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be the top talent that still feels like they're trying to move up, maybe from day 2 to day 1, or move up from round 2 to round 1 or anything like that. These guys are trying to make a name for themselves, and it's going to be it should be a little bit better quality game. The quarterback play should be drastically better. So it will be an exciting time. James, anything else to add?
No, man, excited for the game. There's a lot going on there. Pittsburgh sent Mike Tomlin, both offensive and defensive coordinators, a ton of scouts. They've got everybody there checking out the talent this year. So should be interesting to see what we hear about it, but a lot of stress from what I understand. Special attention was paid to the defensive line unit through practices and also through the wide receiver room. So I would expect to see early investment in both those positions in the draft.
Yep, makes sense. And that's going to wrap up the show. Oh, my Lanta, another one in the book, James. Remember everyone to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget 5-star reviews and Apple Podcasts. Make James very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.